is a legal document in which you declare what you want to happen to your money and property when you die. Fred Litwiniuk, CEO at Litco Law, is here to help make the conversation a little less uncomfortable when it comes to creating one. So, Fred, does everyone need a will?
I think, Kim, that every adult Canadian should have a will.
Okay. When should we have a will created?
That's a really good question. I think for a lot of people, it's when you get married or you start cohabitating with somebody, maybe you have kids, that you really start to think about doing a will. And it's also, as you get older and you start to have some assets that you want to protect, I think that's when people really start thinking about it. But it's really much more about the conversations that doing a will creates. So, that can turn into a full estate plan for some people.
Now, do we need a lawyer to create this will, or can you just use a will kit?
There are certainly legal will kits out there that are recognized. Sometimes, there could be an issue if you do one in one province, it might not be recognized in another. I think the best thing to do is to consult a lawyer, an experienced wills and estates lawyer, to help you with your will. Again, because part of that conversation is going to be about understanding your needs beyond just the piece of paper, because doing a will is about more than the piece of paper. It's really about understanding your estate, your needs, and how you want to provide for your children or your dependents or your loved ones in the future.
Okay, so say we created the will, can it be changed at any point?
Yes, it can. And, typically, I think this is one of the things that keeps younger people from doing a will, is because they're worried that, my situation's going to change and I'm just going to have to redo it later as my life changes. And that's typically true. Normally, you have to go and pay to have your will updated. There are certain firms, like our own, that allow you to pay once and update the will as many times as you need to over the course of your lifetime.
Now, here's a scary question for some people. What could happen if a person dies and they didn't create a will?
Well, it really does depend on the individual circumstances, but if you have property or if you have dependents, say children, the courts could end up making some decisions about what happens to your property and what happens with, say, guardianship of your dependents, who looks after your children. And those decisions just might not be in accordance with what you would have wanted, right? So I think it's really important for those really important things to capture your wishes and make sure that they're known so that your children, your dependents are taken care of the way that you want, and your property is distributed the way that you would want it distributed.
Well, Fred, you definitely gave me something to think about today. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
My pleasure.
It's important to remember these opinions are for informational purposes only and do not constitute legal advice. You should consult a lawyer for your individual situation.
Brought to you by Litco Law, lawyers you'll love.